Hi, and welcome to part 2 of our new tutorial, making a game like the game Doors in Roblox. Last video we did the matchmaking system to where you could load from the lobby into the actual game. In this tutorial, we are going to be creating our room generation system to where it would randomly generate our rooms from start to finish. So we just did the very basic stuff in this tutorial. This is what it's going to look like once you run the game. You can see it creates our starting room here. This is our little spawn point. And this is our starting room, and it creates just these little pads. That's what we call our rooms for now until, of course, we can generate some more. And we have 100 rooms all the way until the very end. This is the ending room here. So that is what we're going to be covering in this tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe and show me a little support so I keep making videos. Thank you. Enjoy. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do is make some simple room models for the script to generate off of. So go ahead and insert a part, and we're going to make it 20 by 20. This is just going to be the floor. We're not going to make walls and stuff yet, just the floor. Just because it's easier to see what's going on with the code. We're worrying about only the code right now. So this is going to be the spawning room, or the start room, not the spawn room, the start room. So we're going to need it to have a nice floor, and then we're going to need it to have a, can I do half a story? And then we're going to want it to be about, sorry, I'm trying to utilize these new features, but I'm not very good at it. So make a little spawn pad thing. I'm going to make it green for start. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to turn off cast shadow, which you don't need to do that, and I'm going to make them anchored. So now with that, I'm going to go ahead and create, so this will be the main part of every single room, the way we're going to do this. So go ahead and make an object, one stud, not 0.5. So that's one side stud big. You're going to take it, and you're going to scale it in one stud to where it's overlapping. You see how it is going one stud into this, to where the actual position of this new part you put in is the same as the ending position here, the center. So just like that. And you can make it not as long. It's 20. Let's make it like 5. Easier to work with, and it doesn't have to be so tall either. It could just be one stud. Make it just like that thin. And then this can be like 0.5. We don't want that too visible. So that right here, this is going to be the most important part. So you're going to color this. We'll do this green here. I'm going to do smooth plastic. I'm going to do everything smooth plastic. I hate regular plastic. Okay, anyway. I'm going to make this white. So this will be our start room, so we have everything it needs. We're going to take the model and we're going to move it into the position 0, 0, 0. So this is going to be this is going to be where the player actually spawns, so put it like over here. And go ahead and delete the base plate. So this is going to be the only room that's at position 0, 0, 0. This is the only room where that matters, where the position matters, because we are not going to be telling in the script what position for it to take. We're going to be moving it straight from replicated storage into the workspace, and it's going to keep the position of 0, 0, 0. So this is going to be the only model that acts like this. It's the start room. So just rename it start. And you can go ahead and insert a folder and put it into replicated storage and rename it rooms. Okay. Sorry, I'm thinking. Okay, because we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. And we're going to move it about here. The position. Actually, I want to move it to the end. Put it right here. So now we're going to be working on making a room that takes us straight. That's just straight through. So you walk in through the door, the last door, which would line up with this part here, and it would come out through here. So you come in here and you just walk straight out. The directions of the room is important, and the importance will be stressed. I'll make sure it's very stressed. So let's make this straight room. Thinking maybe we should put an arrow, or I don't know. So we're going to rename this part. We're going to rename it entry. So this is where you enter the room. And thinking about it, I did this wrong. So this will be the exit part. Exit. And we will make it bright red. And over here, this will also be, rename this exit. And this will be bright red. And we're going to duplicate exit and move it to the back to where it's half a stud out and half a stud in, just like the entry. And we will rename this one entry. Sorry, I mixed them up. Exit's up front, this is the entry here. So you'll make this green. So you see how this lines up? The green here and the red here. Walk in this way, exit this way. What we will do is we will make this an arrow to help us distinguish this as we're coding. So go ahead and get a wedge part. I'm not the best builder, I don't do it too much. So yes, it's going to take me a moment to get it done. So like that, and you're going to duplicate it and go like this. Boom. Just like that. Alt Shift. Select all of these. No cast shadow. And make sure they're anchored. And then you're going to color them. I'm going to do a blue. Oops. Okay. Very simple arrow room. And what you're going to do, go back to this, these parts you just made, and bring them into here, and select, so Alt, Shift Alt, that, you're going to group them, and you can just rename it decoration, or models. Let's do decoration for now. The name doesn't really matter, you just need to know what it means, because we will not be coding that part. Oh, I have like 2 there or something. Ooh. I'm going to go ahead and union these because we don't need to have 2 parts there. We do need to have 2 parts there for when we make the turning rooms. So this is going to be the base of the room, so go ahead and select the model, and we're going to rename it to be straight. You can name this anything. We're not going to be going off the names for the code. That's one thing you do not want to do. We will be using the names for important parts, like start. But for directional rooms and normal rooms, we will be using not the names, but we'll be using another attribute. So, going on, we are going to select the object again, and we are going to go down here to where it says primary part. And you're going to assign the primary part to the entry, this part right here. So this is where this room's C-frame is going to be coming from, to where we can move it off of this. So we can say set this part's C-frame to this part's exit, and then they will be lined up perfectly. So that is why we're going to do it that way. So what you're going to do now is in the straight, you are going to add an attribute. And the attribute is going to be we'll call it room type. I know you guys don't see that window pop up when I'm recording, but it pops up when you hit the plus on the attribute, and you can create a string value and name it room type. And we'll call this room type straight, S-T-R-A-I-G-H-T. So spell it right, because that's important. And you can rename this whatever, but we're just going to keep it straight for now for simplicity. So we have our one straight room. Now we need its room to where it can turn to the right. So this room would turn to the right. So it's very important to keep the exit C-frame the same. So make sure you can rotate this part like this. You rotate it 90 degrees to the left to where the forward facing face is still going this way. You can now move this like that. And you want to move it to about the center here. I know that's the center because of this handy new feature. So keeping this at entry, we're going to go ahead and go into our model and move this arrow to where it is pointing towards the exit. This way when we're running the game, it's very easy to see which way it's pointing to. I hate how... Okay, I guess I can do this. Okay, and just line up this. This is not working how I wanted it to. Okay, duplicate this and make it a square of the smallest. So that'd be 3. I guess we're just going to have the snapping at 0.5, which is fine. I do not want to do that for this. So make that come all the way to the end, just a nice right arrow. Easy to do. So this would be named, this would be named right, which like I said, the names don't matter, just so we can see what it is, but we're not going to use that for the code. So go down to the attribute in the model and rename this room type to right. So this is a right turning room. And now we will duplicate it. We'll have this room here, and this will be our left turn room. So we'll rename it left. And we will grab our exit, and we are going to rotate it 180 degrees this way. Turn our snapping up to 20 studs, and move it perfectly like that. Change our snapping back to 0.5. Select your models here and rotate them. Okay, and now we have a left turning room. So we have straight, right, and left. That is in our start room. Now we're going to duplicate the start room and move it down to the end. And we're going to rename this end. So this is going to be our ending room, our last room to place. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the exit and move it to the back. Make it green and rename it entry. Grab your end and set the primary part for entry, just like how these other rooms are. The primary part is entry. So this will be our ending. We can make this nice gold color, neon material. Beautiful. So we have all of our rooms now. We have our left, start, end, straight, and right. So we're going to take them and we're going to move them from the workspace into our replicated storage, into the folder we have already created called rooms, and we'll keep them there. Something else I want to do, just to ensure players do not move, is we are going to create a regular part here and put it underneath the spawn location. And the spawn location is fine here as long as it's not anywhere where the rooms are going to get generated. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a very rough I'm not too worried about this. We're going to decorate this later on. Just make sure the anchor is on, turn off, and I like to have it white and smooth plastic because I hate it. So just for insurance, and I'm going to move it a little bit more to the right just to ensure that there will be no clipping with the rooms that we are creating. So right now, we need to start working on the actual script. Okay, so I had to pause it for a bit. Add a folder into the workspace for the rooms, and then go to server script service and add a server script. So yeah, make sure you have that folder there before we get started. So am I recording? Yes, I am. Okay. Anyway, so to get started, let's rename this to room generation. And we will make some variables. So we want like how many rooms we're going to have. We're going to make 100 rooms, just like indoors. And we want to keep track of the sequence of rooms being created. So room sequence, just so we can see what's going on and keep track of everything. Something else we're going to want to do is have some active variables. So just as the rooms are getting generated, we can keep track of what has been going on to make sure that we're placing the right rooms where they need to go. So we need to keep track of what room we're currently making. So at the beginning, it's going to be 0, current room being created. We're going to keep track of the last direction, and then to keep track of the last room that was made. Okay, so we want to start with our generation. So start, let's just take some notes down so we know where we're going to go. So start our room generation, we want to create the spawn room, gen start room, generate middle rooms, generate end room. So pretty easy stuff. I wish there was a way to turn off that AI because that's really pissing me off. Maybe there's a way. Okay, whatever. So we want to create a function to create rooms. So let's go ahead and make a part of our script to house our functions. And we want to create one called local function create room. So in here, we're going to have an attribute. Now, because it's mostly going to be random, we won't normally get an attribute in here. But we do want to get an attribute if it's going to be the start room or the end room or any other special rooms we want to add into the game. So for this, we will say exception, or let's say room type known. So if it's known, there will be a value that is passed right here. If you want to pass more values, have this one on the end. This one is on the end because we're not going to put something there if it's going to be nil. So anyway, if the room type is known, and it equals, because we will pass it as start. If it's the start, then we want to do that. And then we're going to want to insert the start room into the room sequence. We don't have to do much for this one because it's already where it needs to go position wise. So we just want to make sure we add it into the workspace. So go ahead and create the room. So get it from replicated storage, and this is going to be the only one that we get by the name. That and the end one. It's going to be the only ones we get by the actual name of the room. So make sure they're named correctly. And you want to set the parent to game.workspace.rooms. And something that we might want to do, let's go ahead and just do the same thing here for the end room. And we're going to want to keep track to see if a room was already placed with this value here. So in order to do that, let's create a function called add room to world with an attribute room. So if last room doesn't equal nil, so the only time it won't equal nil is when the last room created, the room created is being created is the start room. Every other time there will always be a last room, and we will always be referring to that here. And the reason for that is for the positioning, because we're going to set primary part C-frame of the room model to the last room, just exit C-frame, like so. And after that's done, we are going to assign the last room to the current room. And we're also going to say the room name is going to be on room. So right here we'll say add room to world, and right here we'll say add room to world. And it's going to be room. So right now, what we're going to do is going to go ahead and generate the start room like it says in the script. Let's add some space below each one of these. So the start room is going to be create a room, and we are going to know this, and it's going to be called start, which is the name of the room in replicated storage. So make sure that matches up with the start room name completely. And it's going to be the same for the end room. And go ahead and switch the string to be end. So when we hit run, make sure it's run up here and not play. That way we can see what's going on easier. When we click it, we should see the spawn room is spawned, the start room is spawned, and the end room is spawned right on the end. They should be lined up end to end, start to end. And as you can see, that is exactly what happened. Here's our start room and here's our end room, and they are lined up perfectly. You can see our parts kind of in the middle there, clipping together perfectly, and the rooms themselves are not touching. Well, they're touching, but they're not interlapping. So that went perfectly. So now what we want to do is generate the rooms in the middle. Now, you could just create a loop here, and that would be the easiest thing to do. But because I was talking about the section things that we're going to do later on, it would be easier to modify if we created a function that would create a room, that would create a loop based on how many rooms we're going to create at that instance. So that way we can create special sections later on. So what I want to create is a function called generate room creation loop, and we want a RTC, which is rooms to create number, and then it's just going to loop like that, but nothing here. Is there a way to turn off AI? Like, really? Google it. Okay, file, studio settings. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so here's our loop. Rooms to create your room. Perfect. Almost too easy. Create room generation loop. And we're going to have our room count, because there's going to be 100 rooms, but we already have a start and an end room, so we're going to subtract 2 from this number. So -2. So it will create 98 rooms in the middle. Now, something I do want to do is I don't think I mentioned this right here. This just renames the room to the room number it is, so when you look at it, it's just easy to see what room number you're looking at. Okay, anyway, what we need to do in the create room section is we want right here. So this is when it's not a, you're going to want to put return under both of these if statements, so it doesn't continue. So now we're here if the room is not known. So we want to get the direction of the room it's going to go. So the reason we're doing this is, we're going to have to make a function. The reason we're doing this is because we cannot have it turn right twice or turn left twice in a row. It cannot go the same direction, meaning right or left, both times in a row, so we can get rid of the danger of having our rooms loop all the way around and then make contact with each other, because they would clip into each other. It's going to be ugly. It's not going to work. It's going to block each other off. So we have to make sure once it turns right, the next time it turns left, if that makes sense. They can be as many straight rooms as we want, as it wants to generate. So we want to make sure that it can't do 2 right turns in a row and 2 left turns in a row, getting rid of that danger. So we want to get the direction of the room. So we're going to do that. Let's do it at the very top here. Get direction. And let's make some direction options. It's going to be a table, and we'll have straight, right, and left. And let's create an let's do this. Let's create an index for the table to see if for the last direction, to see if it is in, which it will be. So if the last direction, if index doesn't equal nil, then it will remove that option. Now we're not going to send the direction to this if it's straight. We will only do it if it's right or left. So the straight variable will never, did I spell it wrong or something? Yeah. Okay, so now direction chosen will be direction options, and we'll do this randomly, of course. Random 1, the number of direction options. Oops. Oh my god. Direction options. And I forgot to print a C here. Okay, and then we're going to want to return, because we're using this to chosen, en. Okay, Okay, so let's go down here. We got our direction now. We can now determine what direction we're going to go to. So if it chooses a direction, if direction doesn't equal straight, then last direction equals direction. And now we can go ahead and insert this into the tables of the room sequence table. And we'll just do it by the direction. So it would just say spawns, straight, right, left, straight, whatever, and then end. So that's what that is. Okay, local, and we'll create a new room, which would be, you know what? Let's create another function because it's going to be a lot in this function. So let's do this. Local new room equals choose room. And we'll create this function right above this. Choose room, and we'll have our direction. And we'll say local all rooms is game.localstorage.rooms, and we'll get the children. And then the possible rooms we can make, so we'll have our filters go, and we'll have more filters in the future, but right now it's just the directions are the only filters. Sorry, make this a empty table. Because now we're going to loop through all the rooms in the game. So, local, I'm not doing this right anymore. I do that a lot. Room in iPairs, all rooms do. So we'll get the attribute, remember when we did the attribute of the room type, is the direction. Then we're going to insert into our possible room tables the room. And then when we do that, we have our possible rooms table. We want to choose a random one of the possible rooms. We're doing this to make sure we don't just always choose the first option in the table. We want to get a random one. So we'll make a variable for chosen room, and it will be possible rooms, and it will be a random math.random one out of all the possible room options. And we want to clone this, and then we'll return that cloned chosen room. Okay, so something like that. So now we have our room here. So our new room is the cloned room from the replicated storage that was chosen based off the last direction to make sure the sequence is correct. So far it's looking pretty good. I think what we're going to want to do now is make sure the new room parent is in workspace, game.workspace.rooms, and I want to add room to world, new room. Oh god, I think we already did it. I thought that would take a little bit longer, but let's loop through, see what happens, okay? So we create our start room. Start, bop, generate rooms with the loop, which just does that, create room, it's nil, so it comes down here, loops through the directions, which loop through, finds the directions based off the last direction chosen, chooses the room, and then adds it to the world. Attempt to call table value index. Table, looks like I did something wrong here. Well, of course I did. What was I trying to do? Okay, so we have a table index table. This is not returning a number value. Okay, so put dot find there to return a number value. Random interval is empty. Pound possible rooms, if possible rooms doesn't equal nil, so it's not empty. Okay, let's think about this, okay? Invalid argument number 2. to random interval is empty. So let's see what all is getting done. So it creates this room, the very beginning, and then it's bugging out on the very first generational room. This is good, because we can go over this in the tutorial. Bug fixing with me. So when it says to choose a room, it sends the direction. Let's see. No, it does not. We forgot to put direction in the attribute to send. Okay, so it worked a little bit, and then it stopped. Number expected got a string. And that's for argument number 2 of remove. Oh, well, we shouldn't have the string. We should have this as index, not as last direction. Which is why we created this in the first place. Okay, there we go. So, starts at the very beginning, and it goes, you can see there's no double rights or double lefts going on. It always tends to go this direction like this, but that's okay. And you can also create rooms that turn all the way around as long as you have them spaced out correctly. It works perfectly. So we're just going to move on back here and hit stop, and we're going to run it a few more times to ensure no bugs are happening. Looks like it is working great. I want to double check with that workspace to make sure it's okay. See how it's all labeled 0? We don't want that. We want it to be on the room number. So what we're going to do is, when a room is created, create room, add room to world, on room equals on room plus just plus equals 1. So just do this on the function of create room, and now we will have 1 through 100 here. So that way, when we create the doors to where they walk in between the rooms, they can keep track of what room they're in. So that is it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. On the next tutorial, I think that is what we're going to do, is we're going to work on creating the actual doors in between. We're not going to model actual doors. We'll just put a brick there that they can walk into, and it would record that value that they walk through that door. So keep it in the player that this is what room they're at. And then after that, I don't know if it would be the same tutorial or not, we can create a respawn system to where if they die, they can respawn at the last room that they walked into. So we're going to work on that, and I'll make sure to upload a video soon. So thank you for watching. Please, please, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. So thank you.